guys, it's Daisy Bateman here with a new podcast series, Happy Days. Each week I will be talking to some of your favourite players and diving into their lives outside of football. To keep up to date with the podcast, check out all of North's socials and visit nmfc.com.au for more content. Hello and welcome to Happy Days. Today's guest, we're going off-field. Joining me is Laura Kane, North Melbourne's boss woman. She's a GM of Strategy and Operations at North Melbourne, but has just been appointed as the new GM of Competition Management at the AFL. Hello, Laura, and welcome. How are you going?
I'm good, Daisy. It's lovely to be here. Thanks
it's lovely to have you. Of course. So tell me, what have you been doing today?
Today, I've come off about 4 or 5 Zoom calls, so I've been working from home, so it's quite nice to be in at the club and see a few people. I did an outdoor gym session this morning before I started Zoom, got a coffee, and now I'm here.
Lovely. And have the Zooms been for the AFL or for North?
They've been for North. It's been a busy day. I've got a week and a half left, so a lot of handing over, a lot of filling people in and making sure we're good to go when I leave.
Are you sad to leave? How are you feeling?
Yes, I am sad. I'm excited, so bittersweet. It's been a terrific 6 years, so it's sad to leave. It's particularly sad to leave knowing that our teams are going to have success. So I will be on the other side of the fence for that success, I think now. Well,
the women are going to have to win a premiership next year just to rub it in that you actually left.
I think so. You know, there's a few things I want in life, and one of them is an AFLW premiership.
I know. Yeah, I think everyone that knows you knows that. But I guess you were one of the main reasons why I've actually got an AFLW team. So I think in the league at the moment there's 14 teams. When we came in, were we the 11th and 12th, us and Geelong? Or
That's a great question.
Yeah, I probably should have done my research on that.
I should probably know that. It's all a blur. We came in with Geelong maybe 9 and 10.
Yeah,
I'm going to say, and then we expanded by 4 more.
Yeah, yes.
So I think there was 8 when we came in.
Perfect. So do you want to talk a little bit about that process of getting together a team? Like I know there's a few people here that were a part of that journey. I remember Reese, who's our list manager, spoke to us a bit about his journey, and he kind of came in a bit later as well, didn't he? He literally told me, didn't he say he knocked on your door and said, I'm going to be putting this team together?
Something like that.
Yeah, right. So talk a little bit about that, and why were you so passionate, firstly, to get a women's team here? Yep.
So my personal runway is that when I was in grade prep or grade 1, at my primary school, girls played netball, boys played football, and enrolled in the Oz kick and then the netball equivalent.
Yep.
And I didn't want to do that, so no surprises. This is where I've ended up. My mum wrote a letter for me to say that I had their permission, my parents' permission, as remarkable as that sounds, to play footy instead of netball.
Wow.
So I did that, and I participated in Oz kick, and then I played junior boys footy until I couldn't play anymore. And the until I couldn't play anymore piece is the piece that I think ignited the passion with the injustice of it all. So it's probably not a surprise that I then became a lawyer as well. But I don't like the idea of an injustice. So the connection to North Melbourne was through Melbourne Uni Women's Football Club, which is well documented.
Yep.
We're a partner of the club for a decade.
Yep. And
I met the CEO and the leadership team at the time in my capacity as president at Melbourne Uni, and it was to help North Melbourne put together a pitch, a licence submission.
Okay.
We weren't successful the first time, which was disappointing, but it was probably the best thing that happened to us in terms of then being ready the next time around. The process was terrific. Both times, but the second time was particularly good, and it created a passion, I think, for women's football at this club across the club, both in football and our admin and business side of the club.
Yep.
Sonia Hood was a massive part in terms of she's actually the reason I work here. She was the one who suggested the connection with Melbourne Uni, and kind of the rest is history. Our CEO at the time, Carl Delina, was a massive supporter of women's football and handed that same passion over to Ben Amafio, who is as passionate as women's football as anyone I've met and won't miss a second.
Yes.
Practice match or otherwise. So leadership was really strong, the board was really strong, and then we had some really key staff internally who drove the development of our submission with help. External help we used to make sure we had the best possible pitch. And we were successful. We got a licence and we started to build it from there. So Reece Harwood, who you mentioned, who decided he was going to build our list, that's pretty much how it went. He was working as a recruiter in our men's program for I think 7 or 8 years at the time. So
he's been here for that long.
Yeah, he's been here for I think more than a decade. So
I did not know that.
He's been here a long time. And then Matt Belitho, Lou Calusi, who now works at the AFL, Bridget Barker, Cam McLeod, all involved in the formation. So some really key people. There is I might send it to you, but I took a screenshot of a FaceTime call with Bridget, Lou, Matt and I when we found out we got a team. So we did a FaceTime call and I think we're all crying. So I'll send it to you.
So obviously there's a couple of girls here now in our team that played at Melbourne Uni. So you've known them for a long time. I guess when you knew that we would have a licence at North Melbourne, were they people that you were going to like prioritise to get here to be a part of the team?
Absolutely. I think the foundation for how we wanted to set up the team was built on the foundation that already existed with Melbourne Uni, and it was that it was a meaningfully integrated partnership. So we tried to bring that over in our thinking to AFLW, and we wanted to bring back some of that history, and it was an advantage for us that we had a long relationship. Emma Carney was obviously top of my list, and it felt a little bit bizarre watching her win premierships and win best and fairest medals, and then hope that we would be able to convince her to come across. So a hugely important part of the process, but it also extended obviously the senior leaders and leadership that everybody knows, Caitlin Ashmore included. But it then extended to drafting players like Ash Riddell, who went undrafted, which actually is remarkable to me now.
Same.
That created opportunities for players like that through the Melbourne Uni partnership. So it's been really beneficial to our program to have that to have had that connection.
I look back on like the first year, and obviously we've had a lot of staff change, and I think one of the main advantages of coming here first year was that a lot of our staff had actually already been here for a while, like you Matt Belitho, Luke Lucy, people that had worked here and knew the crops of it. Like we kind of came here and were educated about the club so quickly, which I think is why we've retained 16 of 30 players or something since our first year. So we've all, like, obviously a lot of them are people that have come from different clubs, but there's obviously a reason why people want to be here. So what would you say? What would you say about North? Why do you think people want to be here?
I think it's the inclusive environment that we have, and I think that leads the way. I think in our first year, our team was made up of 50% existing AFLW players and 50% brand new players. So possibly a misconception is that we had 20 or 25 AFLW players from other clubs. We had 15, and then we had 15 girls who were brand new to the system and part of an expansion. And we wanted them we knew they were coming with two different lenses. One lens was that they've done it before and they know what works, and importantly, they know what doesn't work. And then 15 girls who are bleary-eyed and excited and like you didn't know what they didn't know. But we knew that the thing they had in common was that they would all want to feel welcome. So I think that's our best feature really as a club, that everyone feels included.
Yeah, definitely. And do you remember meeting me for the first time?
I do.
When did you meet me?
You were drafted. I can't remember. I think I sat in on your draft interview.
Yeah, you did.
I think I did.
You did. I remember.
What do you tell me about
I'll
the
tell
first
you.
time you met me?
I was like, obviously as a draftee, you're interviewed by a lot of clubs, and the one club I was not interviewed by out of everyone was North Melbourne.
Right.
And I remember I went into Draft Combine. So Draft Combine, you meet with every club. So it doesn't matter if they request you or they don't really want to draft you. They, as you would know, you probably sat through most of them. And I walked into like this room of 8 people. Like I swear there was an army in there.
the rest of the clubs would have like 3 people, you know, just sitting there, whatever. I walk in, it's like J-Mac. J-Mac's like, "G'day, how you going?" And everyone's like, "Oh, J-Mac plays in the men's team." Like, what are you doing in here? Like, what's going on? And it was intimidating, but I remember at the end, Reese asked me, like, "Do you have any questions to ask us?" And I think I just threw something out there. I think it was
I remember.
I was predicted to go a bit higher than what I did in the draft. Yeah. And Reese kept saying, "Oh, we'd love to have someone like you in our team. I'll break your ankle or something so you can slide down the draft order or whatever." And we were all joking about it. And you guys had originally had like pick 11, but you traded it for 2 players. And I said, "Well, if you want to play like me so badly, why'd you trade your first pick?"
How could I forget
Which
this?
obviously, in reflection, like Daisy shouldn't have said that, but she did, so we can't go back and stop it. And I just remember you hadn't spoken for the whole interview, and you go, "Reese, I'll take this one. I'll take this one." And I was like, "Okay, all right."
She speaks.
Yeah, I was like, "Okay, yep." And I was like, she'd be the most observant in the room. You would have been listening very intently. But yeah, that would be my first impression of you, is just like you coming out with this like trailblazing, show-stopping answer. And then I just remember being like, cool. Like when you answered, you said something like, "Oh, we trust our decisions and we know that we're going to be one of the best teams in the comp." And I was just like, yeah, fair enough, cool. Shouldn't have asked that. But then, that was my first impression of you. And then I remember meeting you at the draft, obviously.
That's where I remember you, because we were so excited. And your reference to Jamie McMillan was because he was on our list management committee with Luke and Garnes and Ben Brown.
Yep.
And I think the 3 boys outside of Garnes were at the draft.
Yes.
And I remember us walking up as a group. We were so excited.
Yeah.
Almac was texting me at the same time, like, "Are we going to get her? Do you think we're going to get her?"
Yeah.
And then I think Ben Brown said, "Hi, Daisy, I'm Ben." And you said, "I know."
Yeah.
You just turned around to the next person.
I said, like, "I know, you're famous."
Yeah, I know.
And then, oh, God, and it just came out.
Yep.
And then
that was my first memory, but I forgot about that question that you asked. I like that.
Yeah. Oh, it's a hit and miss though, isn't it? Like you can't really ask many people that, but yeah, someone's got to do it.
Good.
And I remember Reece saying when he drafted me, like, "Oh, I'll never forget you asking that question," because I love that stuff. And even knowing him now, I'm like, perfect person to do it too.
He does.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, I guess looking back on the draft, I was not expecting to go to North, and I probably wasn't very happy with it at the time. And in reflection, it was the best thing that has ever happened to me since.
Good.
But have you found that being here, obviously you're being very closely involved with AFLW, and I know it's like probably a big passion of yours. Have you enjoyed watching people like over the years and seeing them develop as players, seeing, you know, you've been in draft interviews, you've met young players, to see like me, I'm a good example. Like I've been playing here for this is my 4th season I'm going into, which is crazy. I'm fossil now. But is it like rewarding in a sense of looking at people grow up?
Absolutely it is. The first part is the women's program. So watching the women's program go from how do we order T-shirts and where do we get footies from to a really sophisticated program that's running leadership courses. And I was here last night actually packing up my office, which was sad. But our first years, AFLW first years, had a development program that they run. Yeah. And so seeing where we've come from to now is what makes you proud. Yep. Then seeing the players grow from when we first call their name out and don't really know them outside of the process to then learning about them, learning everything there is to know. But the one thing that I have loved or that makes me really proud is the change in our men's team. So the shift that I have seen from when I first started and when we introduced AFLW, which wasn't a bad environment in any way, shape or form, but the development that's happened and how thoughtful our men's team are now of equality is the thing I'm most proud of. Yeah. If I have to reflect on our AFLW team, coming in 4 years ago.
Yeah. And I guess leading on to just you, and
Great.
and talking
favourite
about
topic.
talking about more about your new role. So I guess when I first came to the club, your role here was very different to what it has eventuated to become right now.
Yep.
But I feel like you've changed jobs like
A lot of
once a
times.
year. Like since I've been here, it's like you were really closely involved in AFLW first year.
That's right.
And then you eventually kind of got more higher up, became more like holistic, right?
That's right. So I started looking after women's football in the Next Generation Academy, which I loved as a footing because it gave me some really good opportunities. Taryn Thomas was the first player that I applied for a talent concession for on behalf of the club. So to see him come from a 14, 15-year-old boy that I used to text him every morning and ask him if he was at school and if he had gone to footy training and how his day was to now is also been a great journey to be part of or to follow on. But moved on to the exec when I was football operations manager, and that was looking after men's and women's.
Yeah, okay, that's right.
Moved into a head of operations role, which was when the team became bigger, when we added the 3 new teams, so the men's VFL, the women's VFL and the AFLW, and then recently moved into the GM of strategy and football operations role before shortly departing. So short-lived, but it's been really good. It's been a big reason why I've loved working here because it's always interesting and new and there's always growth opportunities. So that's why it's bittersweet.
What is the long-term goal? Like what's your, do you know what you want to actually end up doing? Like,
I don't know. I like I like organising things, as you know.
Yes.
And I like sport. I like football in particular. So I think having come off a 6-month experience with the strategy, I like the business side of sport as well. So
CEO.
The CEO path, I think, is my
go. Benamafio, watch out. You can't be a CEO of any other club, you realise.
I'll have to come back
you
here.
have to come back
when
here.
Ben's ready.
Look, I've taken over Ben's office for a day.
I was about to say I might have to come into this office, which is right next door.
Exactly. So, I mean, I know what it's like in there. So if you need any tips.
you know your way around.
I guess so. So what, I guess, was the main reason why you wanted to venture to the AFL?
Yeah, it was less about why I wanted to go there, and it became more about the opportunity that was in front of me that I couldn't say no to. Yes. Really. A big kind of overlay for me was that any role I went to, I really wanted to see equality across men's and women's, so I wanted to have responsibility for both. And that was something that I'd thought of in the back of my mind for a while about my next move. It's what it is to its core why I loved working here, because it was the same for men's and women's. Yep. And so when the opportunity arose at the AFL in a role that crossed over both, it was really difficult for me to say no because it is exactly what I was.
It does have you written all over it when you explain it like that, doesn't it?
So I like that part of it. And then I love football operations. I love the competition, the management side of things. I can't say I love COVID, but I like working through problems, and COVID is a huge problem. And I think that we were able to find practical solutions for COVID-related issues over the past 18 months. Yeah. And I hope to be able to do that across the comp now. Yeah,
and I guess being a woman in you could probably say a male-dominated field, have you found that there's any limitations?
No, I get asked this question a lot, any interview or podcast or what have you. No is my short answer, but the really interesting challenge I've found is that an assumption that because you're female you'll know about, enjoy, work in or be responsible for women's footy. And so the big challenge or the shift in perception for me is that when we think of women in football, we don't just think of AFLW straight away, that we think of the game, and we have to actually ask another question, which is which team do you work for, or instead of just assuming.
That's so true,
I try to always bring that lens and educate on women working in both, and just don't assume that because they're male they work in men's footy and vice versa. Yeah,
I like that, like we've got majority of men some of our coaches, we have obviously women as well. But I think sometimes people forget that people go, oh, we really need women in coaching roles. And that's very true across both men and women. But it's pretty amazing that we've got such passionate men that really want to help women's footy as well, that get up, especially at our club, like someone like Darren Crocker. I will admit that when he was first appointed, I was like, oh, I don't know about this. You know, it was like the typical headline, you know, he was a men's coach, but he honestly, like he says to us all the time, he's found his passion.
Yep.
Like this is what he wanted to do, but he didn't know he wanted to do. Yep. And he's so passionate about us, and he's built so many different connections with all of us because he cares for the game and he cares for the club. So at the end of the day, whatever the club needs, he's going to do. I think that sometimes we forget that, like obviously we're women, and I play in a male-dominated sport that's not male-dominated anymore. But it's also amazing that we've got men in the coaching space, in the women's coaching space as well, especially past players. Like Darren Crocker, when he played, I'm sure if a woman was – he actually told me that I were looking out a window or something, and he's like, oh, how good is it to see just, you know, women kicking footies on Arden Street? Like it was just these two random women. And I was like, oh, what do you mean? He's like, oh, if I went to Arden Street in 1985 or 1945, however old he is.
1945? I hope he listens to this.
It'll test him. But he said like it would have been like so strange if there had just been women kicking a footy. So I just think it just shows like at the end of the day, like it's pretty great that we have such passionate men, and there's such a terrible like perception that people just put men into a coaching role because they're in a male-dominated sport, right? Yep. It's such a perception. I think that's especially Croc has really broken that open for me. I guess a little bit about that as well, because you're probably behind a lot of that decision. What did you see in him?
Yeah, there's a bit in what you've just said. I think the first thing is you need diversity in decision-making, because women don't appoint themselves to coaching roles.
Yes.
So to get women coming through the pathway and developing them, you need diversity of decision-making.
Yep.
We have some terrific men at this club who run our women's program. We have some terrific women as well who run our women's program. But you're exactly right that sometimes it gets lost in the conversation. Yep. But it gets lost because there aren't enough women right now.
100%.
So it's fair. It's a fair comment, or it's a fair passion point that people talk about, and it's topical. Definitely. And so they should. That's what makes the game great, that people have something to say about what we do. Yep. We have jobs because of it. Yeah. So it is okay, but I think to your point, and it was true of Scott Gowans as our inaugural coach. He loves women's football. His whole family loves women's football. Yep. And Croc didn't have the same runway, and that was a fair query or a fair question. But I had worked with Croc in our men's program for a couple of years before his appointment to our women's team, and the driver for me was integration. Yep. And I know now that almost every single one of our past players who's in contact with Croc will talk about AFLW when they pick up the phone instead of our men's program. Yep. I know that women's footy now is front of mind for some of our legends of the game because they have such a strong relationship with Croc. So it wasn't an accident that Croc is our senior coach for AFLW. And it made sense at the time when we were going into a period of uncertainty through COVID to leverage the resources we had in our men's program to bolster our women's program. So I'm really pleased with the appointment, and I think he's doing a terrific job. Absolutely. But I can see the passion now that he loves women's footy. Yeah, I filmed a shoot a couple of months ago at Colonial Brewing. Very good. And it was with Croc, Anthony Stevens and Glenn Archer. Yep. And I walked in and Croc's like, oh, this is Daisy. She works in the media team, but she also is one of my players. And they're like, oh my gosh, we've been watching you guys. You guys are great. Yep. And I remember telling my grandpa something like that, and he was just like, wow, that's amazing. Like, these people are legends, but they also love Croc. It's like everyone, you bring so many people that probably haven't watched women's footy before. Yep. If you get drafted, if you play in it, if you work in it, whatever, they were all like idolised. They're like, what number are you? And I was like, 11, Glenn. Like,
I love you. But like it was pretty incredible to see, like even just through him and the respect they have for him, that they invest in it just as much as well.
I mean, Croc was, central to the season launch pre-COVID, which feels like a lifetime ago now.
Yeah.
Where we did the joint jumper presentation, and to see, the players going up together and receiving their jumper from a club great. In 20 years, that will be female players doing the same.
Oh,
so it's a really nice connection point, I think. So
definitely. Yeah. I was actually talking to Tash, who is our forward line coach, and we're having a good discussion about basically like how we're still in our infancy stage as women's players, but it's the same for women coaches, isn't it? Like female coaches. It's the exact same thing. Like it wasn't normal for women to be coaching. So we're all still going through the same kind of process as a coach or as a player. It's the exact same thing.
100%. And they're balancing, our female coaches are balancing exactly what our female players are balancing, which is a whole nother career.
Yeah.
Or being a mum, or, whatever it is, full-time jobs in and of themselves, whether it's raising children or working or studying. Yep. And they have to be, when you walk in the door, your preparation is get ankles strapped, warm up, get your body right. That's not enough time for them to edit your vision and prepare learning points for you. So they're working over and above all of that to make sure that when they sit down or they stand up the front, they're completely ready. So the sacrifice is enormous, and that is where the commentary is valid, that we have to grow opportunities for women to turn coaching into a full-time career, because it is extremely challenging otherwise.
Yeah. And I guess speaking of incredible people, I thought we might give my favourite Kane a mention. Mary Kane.
I'm your second favourite.
Yes, you are. Well and truly second. Mary Kane. So just for the listeners at home, who's Mary Kane, Laura?
Mary Kane is my mum, but maybe my description of Mary should be Mary Kane is Daisy Bateman's jumper sponsor, and then second, Mary Kane is my mum.
Yeah, I think that should be your description. I remember when you messaged me in like 2019 and you said, hey, like my mum is actually just signed up to be a jumper sponsor because she read your pocket profile and loved it. Yep. Like pocket profile is basically like a Q&A we do on the North website that I didn't even know anyone read. Yeah. Firstly.
Mary Kane does.
Mary Kane does. And I don't think my mum reads them. It's depressing. But Mary Kane read it, and she decided to be my jumper sponsor. Out of everyone, like this 18-year-old that didn't even think she was going to get a game or whatever. Yeah. And then...
Well, she rang me to check.
Yeah.
She read the pocket profile, and then she said, am I making the right decision here with this Daisy Bateman? And I said, yes, you are. You should sponsor her. So she's been there from the start every year.
It's been 3 years. 3 years and going on 4th.
I'm telling you, when I called my dad to say that I was leaving North Melbourne and going to the AFL, his first question was, does that mean we can all go for Collingwood again? I said, no, it doesn't. And then when I called my mum, she said, does this mean I can still sponsor Daisy? So
thank God.
It's really nice to see that my parents were leading with a congratulatory note, but it was more about them. So mum signed up already, so she's already paid her money and she's ready to go.
Well, you won't be at our BNFs, but
Mary
Kane will be.
Maybe I can be her +1.
Yeah, that's so true. And also all of the jumper presentations and stuff.
Yep.
Mary Kane will be there without Laura Kane. That's the best.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I thought we'd go into a couple of quick fire questions.
Go for it.
So you've been at North for 6 years. I'm going to say any question that is about the men's, it can be past or present.
Okay.
Just because I know you have a couple of favourites in the operations department in J-Mac and Rat. That's going to be controversial, by the way. Who's your favourite out of them two? First one. No comment. Let's go. Who is your favourite player in the women's?
Emma Carney. How long do I have to answer?
You can give a reason why.
I'm going to go with Emma Carney because she was our first player.
Yep.
She's from Melbourne Uni. She's our captain and she's a star.
Okay. My
rapid fire back.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wish you had said Daisy Bateman because she was the first ever draftee. She's a fantastic person. She's the
Rising
one that
Star
you're
nominee.
Rising Star nominee. How could I forget?
Resource in our media team.
Resource in our media team. And also the one person you're going to obviously struggle to leave here.
Yeah, that was second. That was my second
Yep,
answer.
good. Who favourite player in the men's?
Whew. Curtis Taylor.
Really?
Yeah, my favourite. He probably doesn't know that, so let's see if he listens 20 minutes in.
Yeah, that will show.
I love all the players.
Yep.
There's 70 of you, but rapid fire, that's my answer.
Can you give a why?
Curtis is a really good egg.
Yep.
He frequently I will ask him to, check in with our AFLW players, and he has really helped me with a few bits and pieces, and he probably doesn't or underestimates the weight that he carries by doing little things like that. I think our AFLW players not expect, but are less taken aback when senior leadership reaches out, and it's kind of goes hand in hand with their roles and their responsibilities. Definitely. But Curtis, from when he was brand new to now, will always say yes to helping me out or checking in with our younger players, and I think he's got lots of potential, and I think he's having a real crack, and he's a great kid, so he was my first answer.
Good answer. I'm going to say, what has been your favourite AFLW win?
Oh, that's a great question. I know my least favourite game.
Which one was that?
I couldn't get there this year and I had to watch it on Zoom, the finals.
Yeah,
that was tough.
That was my least favourite too.
I think my favourite is going to have to be the Collingwood final. Before COVID.
At Icon Park. The year we would have won.
No crowd, which was bizarre.
Yeah. Still a great atmosphere though.
Yeah.
Like it was weird.
And Ali Gavalis, Jazz Garner, just
halftime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, big mark, Jazz Garner's mark.
Yeah.
That was I would say that's one of the best games I've ever played in.
Yep.
Just so, and just even singing the song after, like.
It was good. It was a good game.
Everyone that was allowed to be there was singing the song in
was
this
loud.
Massive. And I think we did things like even in the race we put up all of the players' jumpers that couldn't come. Photos of families. Like
Christy Jenkins looked after all of that with Matt Bolitho, and Christy looks after our VFLW program now, but she was behind all of that, and that was incredible. Yeah,
and she did the same thing for us this year.
Yep, she did.
In the final as well. So, yeah, I think it was just really emotional because there was a lot of girls. I remember a lot of girls that were saying, like, this is the first AFLW game, like, none of my family can come to.
It was so uncertain, and I remember not knowing. We didn't really know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And it was a tumultuous week leading into it. We didn't know who we were playing. We didn't know how it was going to work.
How many times can a fixture change? You guys came in, you're like, all right, guys, it's going to be Carlton, Icon Park, Friday night. And we're like, okay, cool. 2 minutes later, all right, everyone back
Surprise.
in. It's Collingwood.
But it set the tone. Like, it's how the last 18 months have been. So
and little did we know.
We couldn't believe that at the time. We thought that was the most difficult logistical thing we'd work through, and it only got worse. So.
And 6 months later, you're probably in a hub.
Yeah.
Not even.
July, we left to the hub. So
how many days were you in the hub?
74 nights.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Well, you're alive. That's the most important thing.
I'm grateful that we got to do it. So I actually didn't mind the hub. And
I know. Well, your family and your friends are down here as well, and you probably would have heard a lot about what lockdown was like down here.
Yeah, it wasn't good, and we were fortunate. The game continued. I know people made sacrifices, so I don't have kids, so it was easier for me to kind of pack up quickly and go.
Yep.
I know the sacrifices our staff and our players made, in particular our staff who in an instant had to pack up and leave, and mums and dads who didn't know when they were coming back. Really difficult.
Yep.
But overall, I was grateful that we got to continue working and playing.
Yeah, there's a lot of people here, like even some of the boys in the media team, they say how good it was, and it was a great opportunity.
Just have to take it day by day.
Honestly.
I know. Sun was out. Go for a run, work,
tanning.
play.
You came home really tanned.
I did. The Greek in me really came out.
It really did. I guess we should probably speak about my tattoos. Sorry to leeway into that, but
that's okay.
I need to actually get this off my chest because I just remembered. Because I remember I called you one time when you were at the hub, and I found out you actually had a tattoo.
Thanks, Dais.
Kano has an evil eye. Sorry, I added it. I had to tell
The
everyone.
Greek connection.
But I have never forgotten that because I remember you told me a story of like.
Please don't repeat it.
Anyway,
Please.
anyway, but me and obviously Kano go way back now, and you've
know my
seen the
tattoo story.
but you've also seen the transition of my tattoos.
I have.
Unfortunately, I'm wearing a jumper, so that the jumper's not coming off today.
Okay.
But yeah, you've seen me go from like probably one tattoo, and now I have 18 on my arm.
That's me.
And Kano came up with this.
After the first one, this was.
Yes, after the first one, Kano knows how impulsive I am, clearly, and she basically said, "You are not getting any tattoos until you go through me."
I sound.
You sound like my mum. What are you doing, Kano? It's fair
Deb
enough.
would be proud.
Yeah, she would
Yeah.
be, but my mum is also a bit of a free spirit as well. So she would never, like, she would just be like, "Oh, do whatever you need to do," you know. Which is why I love her so much. But I went to Kano with this tattoo idea.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it cannot be vocalized because there is some forms of profanity.
You would have to bleep it out.
Exactly. And it was going to be on my arm. I'm pretty sure it was my arm, wasn't
That's
it?
right. Visible. Very visible.
And then Kano reminded me that I am an AFLW player. I'm on broadcast TV.
Mm-hmm.
And now in reflection, I'm really glad you stopped me because
Right.
if you
You
didn't.
just got 17 more.
but no swear words.
No
The worst
swear
one I've
words.
got is baddie,
Yep, I know.
which you and Matt Blythe made a bit of a meme out of for
Yep.
a while, didn't you? But that would be my worst. That would be my least favorite tattoo, obviously. And I only did that a year ago, so who knows what I'm going to hate next year.
Yep.
Are there any more tattoos on the cards for you?
No, no is the answer. Maybe we should have the reciprocal arrangement. I have to approve it through you.
Yes.
Um,
But I don't think you're gonna be getting much approved.
No, one is enough for me.
Yeah.
One that no one can see is enough for me.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Well,
yours, however,
I got a tattoo. I have a tattoo
maybe
gun.
at 20. I know you have your own tattoo gun. That's why we find ourselves in this problem.
Exactly. But if you ever need my services, I'm happy to.
I'll let you know. I
Yeah.
know your phone number. Thanks,
Well, we
Dais.
can always get a little NMFC.
Little kangaroo. Practice.
We actually have made a deal with a couple of the girls in the team, Gilroy in particular, premiership.
Yep.
We're getting. I gave her a
You're
no.
doing it?
Yeah,
or-
I'm doing it.
Oh, good. Okay.
But I did give her an idea the other day in the change rooms. I said to her, "Why don't you get a leprechaun?" And she looked at me and she was like, "Daisy, just
That's
because
about
I'm Irish."
That's about as good as baddie.
Yeah. She's like, "If I went back home with a leprechaun on my arm,"
My dad's born in Belfast,
yeah,
so he'd probably feel the same way about that, I think.
she literally looked at me and was like, "Don't even."
I mean, we say that as you're about to get a kangaroo
Yeah.
tattoo to you.
And I played,
So,
but that's the thing. It's a commitment. Yeah, like if I got a tattoo, I'd have to be here for life.
yeah, get a tattoo.
Yeah, I
You
will.
can get 19. What are you up to?
Yeah, on my whole body. I don't know. But anyway, I guess we're near the end.
Yes,
Um,
been good days.
yeah, thank you so much for coming and joining me. I know you've got a busy schedule at the moment through your transition.
I do.
But
I
yeah,
always make time for you.
I know you do. I know I've needed a lot of time over the years, but no, thank you so much for all your help at North as well. We're all very sad that you are leaving. We're all holding back the tears. When I was told, I didn't know what to do with myself, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, what has my life come to? I hate change. You know I do, and you didn't prep me. So although I did have a really good mention in your paragraph that you sent to the group chat.
Did you? What did I say about you?
You said for first draft pick or whatever. I don't know. But
Rising star, first draft pick.
I can't wait to see you at all the games. Hopefully, will you be wearing AFL gear?
I don't think we necessarily have a uniform. I think I'll be in.
Oh, I'm thinking of the medical.
No, I'm not going to be the third doctor, but close. No, I think I'll just be in business attire,
Yeah.
maybe, but
Okay.
maybe summer business attire. But no, I will be at as many AFLW games as I possibly can, particularly for the Roos.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Kano. Thanks so much for joining me. And maybe we'll have to get you back on in a year and be like, where is she now?
Let's
Is
do
she the
it.
CEO?
Does she have any more tattoos?
Does she have any more evil eyes? But anyway, thank you so much for joining me, Kano.
You're welcome, Dais. Thank you very much.